guys, thanks so much for reading my article on tips on skin tones. So I have a couple of photos all from the same wedding, but different lighting scenarios. So I thought I would bring these images in, these are raw images, and just show you how I would edit these, paying particular attention to skin tones. So just to start off here, this is a little dark for me, so I'm just going to bump it up. Now, right off the bat, she does have more olive color skin. So what I am going to do is I'm going to lower my contrast a little. I lower my clarity a little bit when I have up close face shots like this because it's just going to be a little bit more kind to her skin. That looks okay. I could go a little bit cooler on my temperature, but that's going to make the whole picture look cooler, and I don't quite want that. I like the warmth of the picture right around there, around 5400, which is actually where I shot it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my hue, saturation, and luminance, and I'm going to click on luminance first, and then come over here and click on my dropper. So I'm going to pick sort of a mid skin tone color and probably one more towards the red. She does have blush on, so I don't want to make the blush color completely washed out or wash out her lips at the same time, which is very easy to do. If I just clicked here on this kind of red and pumped up the luminance, now she's going to look very washed out, and her lips also come up as well. So if I do that, I want to go for more around kind of the orangey tones just to bring that up, bring up the skin tones a little bit. But then I'm going to come over into my saturation, do the exact same thing and desaturate that a little bit. So it's very subtle. That's it right there, kind of a before and after here. It's not a whole ton. And then it's nice because if I wanted to, in a different scenario, which I'll show you in a minute, I could bump up, my vibrance and saturation a little bit without totally killing her skin tone. So let's go ahead to the next picture, because the next one here, this one's in a church, and it looks like I could have had my off-camera flash a little bit brighter here and a little bit better aimed onto their faces, but this is what we're dealing with. So I'm just going to bring up my exposure a little bit, drop down the highlight so I don't blow out her dress, and probably bring up my shadows a little. But now what's going to happen is if I do the same exact thing and I come over to my saturation and I go to my eyedropper and I click on her and I bring it down, the whole scene gets desaturated. See how that's happening there? And I really don't want the whole scene to be desaturated. So in this circumstance, sometimes I would come over to my selection tool here and then just drop down the contrast a little bit, up the shadows, and then paint just there to better the skin tones. And it is slight, but it does help a little bit. We can even kind of bump up the exposure. So right there you can kind of see before and after, just focusing on the skin tones. You can even cool down the skin tones selectively here. Now I think this is starting to look a little bit better. There we go. So that's probably what I would do in that circumstance. Definitely a big difference in the before and after. So moving on to the next photo here, just going to go back to my basic tools. Some of these photos, if you notice that you have a very, even histogram, you could hit auto, and a lot of times it will do a nice job just with the contrast and color. But I'm going to bump up the contrast and then again come down, saturation, pick kind of an even spot. Just desaturate a little bit, come over to my luminance, especially here, got my dropper tool, and then click and brighten it up. So you can just see it's very slight. You don't want to do it a whole ton. You just want to do it so that the attention goes to their face, and so that if, and this bride does not really have this problem, if they have over tanned in any way, it can help take that out. So this is the next one. I think I'm just going to do a previous, see what happens. Not too bad, just a little bit warm. So you don't want to take out too much of the saturation, just a little bit, because, you do have brides that tan and they want that skin color, and unfortunately, usually they compare themselves to magazines, with studio lights, and obviously the skin tones are much easier to achieve there when they're not being reflected off the green grass and things like that like they are here. So I'm just going to fix my crop and then again do the same thing. So it's not too difficult to do, and I wouldn't do this with all of my proofs, by the way. I would just do this with some of my favorite pictures that come out. You can see that before and after real quick. All right, and then this is another one where, I could come here and just click and desaturate this, but then I'm going to start to desaturate a lot of the orange tones in the wood, which I don't necessarily want to do because I kind of like them a little bit. So that one I might want to be a little bit more specific about and go in, I think, and just paint it on. Because look at the difference there. I like what it did to the skin tones, didn't love what it did to the rest of the scene. So I hope this is helpful just in general as far as what I would do to help with skin tones, and I hope it's helpful for you guys. And I will see you next time here in Shuttle Mag.